Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. This is the third Draftworx webinar for the year for 2026, and it's Draftworx Cloud Basics. You should be seeing three faces on your screen, mine and Christo and Tafadzwa's. And I'm going to hand over to Christo in a couple of seconds, and then he's going to run it from there. Just two things from my side. First of all, folks, those of you who attended the desktop basics and advanced sessions, the recordings are available on YouTube. So if you did attend the session, you would have received a certificate with that little link in it to the Draftworx YouTube recordings. And if you click on that, you'll find it there, or you can just find it on YouTube yourself, I'm sure. So they are there and they're available for you to use, and they're a fantastic resource. Let me remind you that you can rewind something and you can play it again. You can even change the speed of it, and it has got chapters in as well, so that you can just go and jump to where you want to go. The second thing I just want to mention is that we are issuing certificates. They're complimentary. Your attendance at these webinars is complimentary. It's part of our thank you for you guys being a Draftworx client. And so you don't have to ask. In fact, please don't send me an email saying, can you please send me a certificate? Just bear in mind that will happen tomorrow. And depending on the number of attendees, it takes a period of time. They are issued one at a time. And so it's not like I push a button and boom, all the certificates go out. It's not quite that simple. And then, folks, just on the note of the certificates, if you haven't joined on your own personal join link, there's going to be a problem, because if you've joined on a colleague's link, you're actually helping your colleague get their CPD certificate and not yours. So please make sure that you have joined using your own personal link. It was addressed to you on your email address. Very important. If you're unsure about that, exit the session and jump on again, please, just to make sure. And then there won't be any issues with that. Okay. And I think that I've said my say. So I just want to thank you, Christo and Tafadzwa. Thank you guys for all your preparation. I know that this hasn't just happened and you've just landed here today and you're going to start talking. You've done lots of preparation, and thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you to you, Clarissa, as well, for just putting this all together in the first place, and for being here for the duration of the session and for looking after the Q&A. And I think that's about it. So, Christo, over to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Shane. Always nice having you. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Always appreciate our everyone joining, the clients. And additionally, just to our developers and support team, I know a couple of the guys always tune in. Thanks, everyone, for all of your hard work. It is Draftworx isn't built by one person. We work really hard, and the team is fantastic to work with. And thanks, everyone, for the work. Then, just to go through it. As Shane mentioned, the CPD certificates will come your way. We will also put this on YouTube. We'll put it, once the links are up, we're sending out automated emails with the links to the webinars, all of those kind of things. We do take a little bit of time just to edit them and make them extra smooth for YouTube. And that's just a few of the basics. So today we're doing Draftworx Cloud. So what is Draftworx Cloud and why did we build it? I always like to just chat about the history a little bit. So Draftworx Cloud, well, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2020 when we launched it. But essentially, Draftworx Cloud was built specifically because, well, everything was going cloud, and, cloud-based is needed. And we actually did something that was, from what we're aware of, a world first, where we put the whole financial statement preparation in your browser. And it's fantastic to see where it's gone. Cloud has just grown and grown, and we've seen so many people jump on it and so on. Obviously, the advantage is there. You've got cloud, it's online. You can do it from any computer. And additional to that, you can invite your whole team to it without paying extra. So one of the nice advantages for cloud, you're not paying a fee per user. You're actually doing what we call per engagement billing. So you're only paying for every client that you do. So extremely convenient. If you've got a clerk who's maybe only going to do 2 sets of financials a year, they're still practicing. You don't want to pay a license for them, but you hop them on cloud. They're able to work there and actually get some experience without costing you a ton of money. So it's always one of the nice things. But we're going to cover a few of the basics today. We're going to run through essentially how to do a set of financials. Tafadzwa is going to help me. She's fantastic, and she knows cloud extremely well. She's going to be working with us, and we're going to be doing a set of financial statements on our side for the Samurai Sourdough company that is run by Mr. Warren Bugate, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, without further ado, let's start up with signing up to Draftworx Cloud. How do you actually sign up? How do you get going? Well, it's extremely easy. You hardly have to talk to us. Well, you don't have to talk to us to sign up. So if you want to sign up, go to draftworx.com, and you'll see in the top right corner, Draftworx, there's a cloud login there. And if you have an existing account, obviously you can log in. Alternatively, you can sign up to cloud. One of the things just to mention here, you will see that we have two separate logins, one for South Africa and Africa, and then we've got one for UK and Ireland. And the reason for that is purely GDPR. There's some compliance things that we have to put in place that separates our servers. So if we do have some guys, international clients, I'm sure there's some of our UK clients here as well. You guys, just be aware, you always sign up on the UK server so that you actually get the templates that's relevant to you guys. So for now, signing up, I'm going to just go there, sign up to cloud. And very simply, we go through the process, sign up, right? I would just type in my practice name. And as I said, it's going to automatically populate, the South Africa. Different countries, you will see if we do try, let's say, the UK, you see it's going to tell me it's not available. And as I mentioned, that's why we want to push it to the UK server. We are actually in the process of working with a change where we're going to allow anyone to be on and pulling in international templates, which will be coming quite soon. It's quite exciting. It's international templates. We've stripped out all of the localization laws, and it's like a bare bones set of IFRS and IFRS SME templates. And then the responsibility is pretty much on you to go and make sure that it's compliant with the legal country laws and so on. But yeah, some cool things coming relatively soon. Then you just complete the rest of the details, right? So I'm just going to say Christo. We can put an email over here and password, whatever it might be. We do have some secure password requirements to be aware of that. So you have to have like numbers and capital letters, all of those kind of things. And then you have to agree to the T's and C's, right? So agree to the T's and C's and the privacy policy. So one of the things to mention there, because privacy obviously these days is very important, and as accountants and auditors, it's even more important for us. So we do comply with both PoPIA and GDPR. We also have, like I said, strict security in the servers on our side. We do testing, where hackers try and test like a hack our product and so on. We are ISO 27001 compliant. So we really are focused on securing your data and making sure everything is safe. It is one of the biggest things that we focus on in the cloud software. And yeah, once you have agreed to all the T's and C's and all of that, you can sign up. Once you sign up, you'll get an email on your side, and you just confirm the email and you have a profile, and that would pretty much be it. Now on my side, I've already signed up, so I'm going to log into my profile. That's from the login screen. I just put in my email address, put in my password, log in, and it's now logged me into my accounting practice here. And we're working for Grain and Gain Accounting. And like I said, we need to do a little bit of financial statements today for Mr. Baguette. So before we start going there, a few things just to touch on with what we're seeing on this screen. So this is my main screen as I log in. I am seeing my client list over here. I can see my practice details along with my practice balance. And as I mentioned, you can sign up to Draftworx Cloud for free. When you do sign up, you'll actually get this demo. You'll see there's a Draftworx Cloud demo client that you'll get on your side. And initially, it won't have any framework or any working paper or anything. When you actually click on it, you will be able to go and just say, okay, which framework is this? Which working paper do I want to see? And we're actually going to give you one file that you can go play around and test the system on. I'm just one of those people, I would never buy something without giving it a test run first. And so with Draftworx, we kind of believe the same. We give you an opportunity to go and test the file for completely free and play around a little bit and so on. Then just to touch base on a few things, obviously with the demo client, that is free. If you want to then unlock that file, so essentially you want to print that file out and give it off to your client, you do need credits. So with Draftworx Cloud, our credits works on a prepaid system. So I load credits to my practice, and as I use those credits essentially by creating files, by rolling forward my year end, all of those things, that essentially then deducts those credits from my practice. So you'll see I do have some credits here at the moment. For you to add credits, very simply, all that we go and do, you click on the gear icon and you can go practice settings. And you would go to our pay now or request voucher. So those are the two payment options we have. Pay now is an instant payment. So if I were to run this, make sure your email is correct, where we're sending the receipt and so on. And then obviously put in the amount. And if I say pay now, it will jump us through to a payment gateway. So there's a little bit of a difference here for our South African clients. You're going to see PayFast. For our international clients, you're going to see Stripe. But essentially, both of those are payment gateway providers. So they are trusted people that essentially do payments globally, and they handle all of the card details and all of that. Very simple to kind of go through that process. If you don't want to do a card payment, you can do an EFT as well. For that purpose, you can say request a voucher. Again, put in the amount, put in your email address. And what we'll do is we'll send you a little email with the details of, where you can pay to, as well as essentially the payment reference to use and then where to send the proof of payment. Once you send us proof of payment, we will load those credits up onto your side and you can go from there. So that's the payment systems. And lastly, we do sometimes pass out some vouchers and so on at conferences. So if you do ever get that, you're also welcome to just complete your voucher details there and it will populate. All right. So that's the basic settings there. A few other things to touch on this practice settings screen. Our practice details, would be the first time you open the system, it will ask you to pre-complete some of them. And here we just complete all of the information for my practice. The contact details are probably the most important. That is, if you ever get stuck or ever need help, we're going to use those to contact you. And then the rest of the information, my practice address, is actually going to populate to the financials automatically. And Tav will show us that a little bit later. The financial statements options, that's some default options we can set up on our side. So I can set up a default font. So if I want Calibri on all my financials, I can set that up. I can change my thousands grouping and so on. And this applies across the board then to any file that you create. It goes and applies those settings. And then lastly to mention, we do have two-factor authentication. Now, what this is there's essentially two levels of two-factor authentication. So the main one is on my personal account, right? So I would activate it there, and then I've got two-factor on my side. The other one that I can do is I can activate it practice-wide. And that's what I've actually done on this file. So you'll see it says requires 2FA. So what that means is anyone that logs onto this practice. So if I invite, one of my clerks, or I invite Tafadzwa, she's going to log on. If she didn't have two-factor authentication activated on her side, it's actually going to block her. It's going to not show her any client details. And that's just the extra layer of security that we can add to it. Like as partners, we can add that to our files. So that's just the basics there. To activate your own two-factor authentication, if you click on this little button, mine's got a C in because my name's Christo, so it's the first letter of your name. you can go to your own profile, and there will be, mine says disable two-factor, obviously, but you will be able to just enable it and follow the instructions from there. You will see, for the guys that do use Draftworx quite often, you'll see we've got a nice little new button here that says go to client portal. Now, not everyone is going to have that. That's one of the new features that we've brought into the system, and Taff and I will show you guys a little bit of that today, and in the advanced we'll go into more detail of setting it up and so on. But it's really a fantastic feature that we're busy building, and it's a communication tool between you and a client, so that you don't have certain files sitting on the clerk's computer and some on the partner and some on the manager, and everything's all over the show. It's a nice way to have everything in one place, all the communication with the client in one location. Then we will touch on it later, but you do have support here on the little question mark, and you can contact our support team, fantastic team, to assist you with, well, pretty much anything that you need on your side. One thing to mention, you'll see we have some notifications. We do communicate on cloud mainly through our notifications. So if there's downtime, a lot of you would have seen there's our webinars, notification up there. We put all of those notifications up there, so please read them. They are important. And then last couple of things before I hand over to Taff is, for the partners, there are practice reports, so you can pull some practice stats and so on from there. There's an option here that says manage client portal entities. For now, don't worry about that. That's, again, we'll cover that in the advanced on Thursday. And then manage clients, I'll quickly just show you. This is very simple. If I had any archived or deleted files, they come and sit here. Now with Draftworx Cloud, we never, if you delete a client file, we're not going to fully delete that file. It will come sit here under deleted, and I would be able to restore it if needed. And the same with the archive. It will sit here, and it cleans up the clutter of having a million clients on your main client list screen. And then it essentially, just sits in that manage clients option. And then we've got manage users. This allows us to actually go and invite people into our practice, right? So I'm going to say, let's invite someone new. I'm going to click on add new user. It's really simple. We type in their email address, whatever it might be. We select their role. So either they're a clerk, a manager, or a partner. And those are preset roles in Draftworx that allow you to do certain things, right? So a clerk is obviously the base level. They are able to go and create files. They can work on certain areas of the financials in terms of editing and so on, but they won't be able to overwrite certain formulas. They obviously can't invite other users to the system, those kind of things. A manager and a partner both have the ability to overwrite things. Managers are also able to invite people. They obviously are not able to see the practice reports and a few things that's limited to the partner level. And then what you can do when you have invited someone, you can also choose what client access they have. So if I want someone to only have access to my SuperDo school, we're going to click on that, and that's the only file that they're essentially going to have access to. So those are a few things just to touch base on. But from there, I am going to hand over to Taff. Taff, on your side, I have sent you an email already. You can see you're under pending user invites. I have sent you a mail, and you would have received it in your inbox, but you haven't accepted it yet. That's why it's still in pending. Just to touch base, did you get that email your side?
So I don't have access to my emails currently. Unfortunately, IT is working on it. Is there any way that I can maybe get access to the system, since I don't have access to my emails right now?
Yeah, so 100%. What we can do, you'll see there's some really nice tools we've built in. Firstly, I could have just resent it, and that would send an email again. Alternatively, what we have now is we have this copy link function, and I'm simply going to click it, and it actually copies it to my a file where I can paste it. And let me quickly just go my side, and I'm also going to send it to you on our Slack, and you should have it your side. And with that, you'd be able to connect and just accept that invite. You can have a quick look on your side.
Okay, perfect. I'm just checking quickly. I did receive the link. I'm just now going to see if it's going to give me access. So I'm going to share my screen.
Thanks so much, Taff.
Yes, and here we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Perfect. So I just went and I pasted the link that you sent through to me, and I can see it's asking me at the top here, am I new to Draftworx, or do I already have a Draftworx Cloud account? So fortunately for me, I already have one, so that's the option I'm going to select. But if it was my first time using Draftworx or signing up to Draftworx, I would then sign up, put in my name and my password, agree to the terms, and then accept that invitation. So since I already have an account, I'm going to click I have, and you'll see it's going to prompt me to log in now. So all I have to do is click the accept and login button, and it should then take me through to the practice. We'll give it a few seconds. There we go. It's taking me to the login screen. I'm just going to log in quickly, and then it should take me to, why is it taking me to the correct practice? There we go. Now, Christo, I'm not sure why when I open up the file, I only have access to the demo. Is this correct? Should I not be able to see all the clients? What's happening with my profile?
You know what, Taff? When I invited you, I forgot to give you access. So let me quickly just show everyone there. I made a bit of a mistake, but luckily it's a nice and easy fix. So what we're going to do, if I pop open our manage users again, you guys can see Taff has now accepted my invite, and I can go client access, and I'm just going to boom, give her all the access that's needed. We need to get these financials done. So let's get going. I have shared access. You can grab that screen share back, and we can, you should just be able to refresh on your sides. So one of the nice things with cloud, you just refresh and kind of everything falls into place. They'll see
There we go.
refreshed, and you can see everything.
Perfect. So now I can see our practice. I can see the clients that we've been working on, and I have access. So I can see on my client list here, we've got these headings, and I see I have these little buttons. If I click here, this is going to allow me to filter and search. So in the instance where we had multiple clients and I wanted to find something, I can quickly search and filter in any of the headings that we actually have here. I also see that on the right here, I have a little button, the more button with 3 lines. If I click it, I see I have options here that allow me to copy a client, archive a client, delete a client. When we click these buttons, remember they go to that manage client screen. It also allows me to rename the client's name, the client list. I can also lock the clients, mark them as read only. And as a manager or a partner, I can also manage the user access if there's maybe a clerk that should not have access to any one of the other files. We also have manage and enable client portal buttons, which will be covered in our advanced session on Thursday, the 29th of January. So if you're interested in that, please do join us to find out more. I also see that at the top here, I do have buttons that also allow me to archive and delete clients. I can also multi-select and multi-archive and delete. One other really cool feature that we have here is this columns button that allows me to curate my client list. So if, for example, I don't want to see all the columns that are currently printing, I can easily switch off any columns that I don't need. And then you'll see that my client list will be curated to my preference, which I really quite enjoy because it means that my practice is going to look the way I want it to look when I open it. Now, Christo, I know that we are working on Samurai Sourdough. We are preparing a set of financials. I don't have the client file here, so I'm going to go and create a client for them.
Yeah,
so
we'd need to create it. No problem needed. We do have enough credits, so you're good to go.
Perfect. So I'm just going to click my Add Client button, and it's going to open up a little screen for me where I can specify that client name. So I know they are the Samurai Sourdough Company. I'm just going to put in their name. And then I have the second option here, the second field that I have to select is the country. And I can see that there's a drop-down menu here. Now, Christo, just to confirm, I know that this company is within a group and there are some UK entities as well. So just to confirm, is this a South African juristic person? Where are they?
At the moment, our Samurai Sourdough is South African, so we're going to select that. There are some UK entities, and for now, we're going to be dropping to the UK server to do them, and we'll show that maybe a little bit more in the advanced. But yeah, it's at the different URL. We'll just sign up there and do that. As I mentioned earlier, in the future, Draftworx is going to consolidate all our templates. And then hopefully we're going to be able to even access UK templates from the normal South African server, which would be quite interesting.
Okay, perfect. So I'll select South Africa here. And I know this is important because it ensures that the template that is going to come in to my set is going to comply with the accounting and legislative requirements for that particular country. I also see now I have an option to select a framework, and this is required. I know that a framework relates to the type of company that I'm drafting for and the accounting standard that they need to comply with. So just to confirm, I see there's multiple here. Is this a full IFRS client? Is it IFRS for SMEs? How do I know what I need to select here?
So one of the cool things that we have, Tiff, if you look just to the right of the framework, there's a little question mark. So you can just click on that, and it actually gives you a little bit of a breakdown of the different frameworks and what they are and what they stand for, essentially. And you'll see that IFRS SME is basically based on the international IFRS SME standards for small and medium entities. And that is obviously also, because we're in South Africa, this one would be aligned with our South African Companies Act. But yeah, that's one of the nice things. You can just select that little question mark and you can kind of read which framework would suit your entity the best.
Perfect. So since we know they're a small to medium-sized entity that complies with Companies Act, I will select the first SME here. I do see that there is a plus, which is latest. I always want to select the latest template. We also have the legacy templates, which are our older templates, but we always want to select the latest up-to-date template. So I'll select IFRS SME Plus. Then I have the option to select my working papers. I know the working papers relate to type of engagement that we have with our client. I'm going to just click this little question mark, and I can see there's multiple options here. Just to confirm, Christo, we are doing a compilation for this client, right?
Yeah, we are doing a compilation. One of the things to remember here with the compilation and so on, with Draftworx, we allow you to add that, but you actually don't have to. If you have your own working papers in-house and so on, you actually can leave the working papers blank. But in this case, we'll go ahead and add a compilation set for us.
Okay, I do see this is going to be an additional cost of 155 Rand. I'm happy with that. Then our tax year is going to be 2026 because we're doing 2026 set of financials. Year end is 28 Feb. If this was a different date, I would just click the little calendar and select my relevant date. Then my period, I do know we are drafting a full set, 12 months annual financial statements. So that's what I will select on the drop down. And it's currently telling me that my current period is 1 March 2025 to 28 Feb 2026, based off of the dates I've selected here. And I am happy with that. The industry is optional, so I'm going to leave it blank. And here at the bottom, I can see it's telling me that my prepaid credit balance currently is 3,450. This is what we have. And then the new price, the price of creating this client file is going to be 465, which is my 310 for my IFRS SME, plus my 155 for my compilation. This amount is what's going to be deducted from this balance. I'm happy with it. Our credits are enough. I'm happy with the pricing. So I'm going to click the Add Client button. The client is going to be created. I'll give it a few seconds to load. And there we go. Every time that we open up a client file or we create a client file, we are going to see this startup tab if it's been set for us. Now you'll see the startup tab has got a step-by-step guide of the steps that we would need to follow if we are doing a set of financials for a client, which we're going to go through one by one. But before we do that, I just want to touch on some of the menu button options that we have here at the top. So you'll see under taxation, it says here, where is my ITR 14? Now, Christo, I don't know what this means. What does this mean?
So one of the things that Draftworx has is we've got a nice breakdown for you for your SARS submissions. So it's an ITR 14 breakdown where we classify the items according to how SARS would have them. That being said, we actually don't have it under the taxation menu anymore. We've included it as part of the financial statements. And what we actually mainly have under taxation now is we've got export options to our partners. So you'll see there's a couple of partners that we have that we work with, and you can export your stuff straight out of Draftworx to their systems and upload it there, and they also assist with your tax submissions.
Perfect. Now I know what this means and what all these buttons mean. I see the second menu option that I have here is my lead schedules, which I'm going to touch on later, but this is where I would navigate to find my lead schedules, my working papers as well. If I need to navigate to them, here they are. I can open them. Then I see we also have our reports here. Now, these are quite useful when we now need to send at the end of our session or at the end of us drafting our financials. If we need to send a final TB or any kind of reports to our auditors, I can always export them here in PDF. I also see under documents, we do have multiple preset templates that we have, which actually makes our lives easier. Like, for example, if we wanted to do director certificates or minutes, instead of having to go outside of Draftworx, create a whole certificate and all of that, I see that Draftworx already has these templates preset for us. All we need to do is fill in a few things like names and dates, and we should be good to go. Then we have our XBRL submission here. So if we are submitting financials to CIPC on behalf of our clients, we do have the submission functionality in Draftworx. I do know that we do have a webinar that's going to go in depth on the 5th of Feb on how to do an XBRL. So if you're interested in that, please do join us on the 5th of February, where we will go in depth on how to do the XBRLs. Then we have a file manager button. This allows you to upload documents into your Draftworx file. And then client portal, we will touch on in the advanced. Please do join us on the 29th if you're interested in that. Now that we've gone over the menu button option that we have, I did mention that this is kind of a step-by-step guide. So the first place that we're going to navigate to when we are doing a set of financials is our client setup. So I can click here to open up my client setup. I can also click the menu button option here and open my client setup. So what exactly is in our client setup? We have all the information about our client. Who are they? What do they do? We also have AFS customization settings so that the look and feel of our financials is as per the client requirements. I'm going to fill in some information in our client setup, and I'm going to start with our registration number. I'm going to type that in. There we go. And then you'll see that we have a lot of fields here. We have a date of signature, financial approvals date. Christo, just to confirm, do we now have the date of signature? Has Mr. Warren gotten back to us?
We haven't actually got a date just yet, but luckily that's what makes Draftworx nice. We can always come back and just modify this date as needed. So Mr. Warren Baguette is really hard to get a hold of. So we'll organize and then we can change the date when needed.
Perfect.
One thing to mention, I just quickly have a request here from the Q&A. Could you zoom in a tiny bit on that screen?
Tiny bit.
There you go. Maybe one more.
One more. There we go.
There you go. Is that fine? People can just give a thumbs up if you can see that better. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that we've got that nice.
Perfect.
All right, I see a ton of thumbs up. Perfect. Yes. Thanks so much.
There we go. So then I've filled in our registration number, signature date. We'll come back to it. Same with our financial statements, approval date, AGM dates, etc. I also have a setting here for our currency rounding, and you'll see on the drop-down menu, I can select whether I want to round decimals, thousands, or hundreds of thousands. What does this mean? It means that if I select decimals, the figures that I have in my TB, which will have cents, in the financials, items will be rounded up to the nearest rand. If I select thousands, it means that we'll be rounding everything to the nearest thousand. So depending on what our client actually wants to present on the financials, what rounding they prefer, I would select that on the drop-down menu. So I'll select decimals in our case, and then I'm going to go to the nature of business. You'll see that in our client setup, there are multiple fields. If something is not relevant, you don't want it to show on the financials, you can easily just leave it. You don't have to type in NA, because if you type in NA, it's going to show on the financials saying NA. So whatever I'm not needing to disclose, I will just leave it blank. Here I'm just going to put in the nature of business, and you'll see here it's currently saying the output. Don't summarize out a call, limited the company, and then it's not completing. So if I want to put in our nature of business, I don't need to type in the company. All I need to do is put in what they actually do, and you'll see that when I do that, this output updates to say, is the best, most magical bakery ever. And that's what's going to pull through on my financials. Now I'm going to also fill in our business address. I'm just going to bring that in. They are on 456 Sourdough Lane. I also know that they are on Bread Avenue, and they are in Redland. Being the sourdough professionals that they are, that makes sense. And then we have our code, which is 1234, and I'm happy with that. Now, whilst I'm just pulling through this information, I can see there's a button here that says copy from business address. I'm going to click it, and it's actually going to copy my business address to my postal address. And if I do the same, it will also go to my registered address. Christo, I just wanted to confirm, if I've filled in all this information, do I have to do it every single year? Or once I've done it now, like it's done, I've crossed the line?
So that's the fantastic part of, well, the client setup. Everything that we complete in the client setup, Draftworx is going to remember for us. So we don't have to go and repeat work over and over every year. And yeah, it's just going to make life easy. You can see the copy buttons also exist just to save as much time as possible for everyone when they're doing a set of financials.
Ah, that's great news, because I didn't want to do this again next year and the year after. So I'm happy that I'm going to do this once and it will be set up for me. Now I'm filling in our secretarial information, like the director's information. I'm just going to pull through their names. I know we've got Mr. Warren Baguette. He is male. I'm going to specify his gender. I also know that we have Miss Sally Sourdough, who is also another director, and she is female. And I've specified their information. So I don't really want the appointment and resignation dates to pull through on the financial. So I'm going to leave this blank. It's not really applicable for our client. And then now I want to fill in our shareholders information. Now, Christo, just to confirm, Warren and Sally are the shareholders as well, right?
100%. So they're 50-50 partners there. And I believe there's a cool little copy button there as well that you can use to have. If you look to the right of the screen, you can copy those guys over straight to our directors as well. And it's a nice little time saver again.
It is a nice time saver. So now we've completed our directors' information, shareholders' information. I'm happy with that. I'll just keep scrolling, and then I navigate to my financial years. Now, this is where the information about our financial years is stored. The first item that we see is number of years to present, and currently it's 2. What does this mean? This means that if we're presenting 2, we're presenting current year and 1 comparative year in our financials. So this means that in the template set of financials that we have, on all the pages with financial information, I'm going to have a mention of a current year and a prior year. So that means if we wanted to present 3 years, we can simply increase that number, and then that would apply in our template without us needing to do any additional work with that. In the same breath, if we were doing single year reporting where it's just 1 year, we would change that and that would apply. So I'm going to leave this as 2 because we are presenting current year and 1 comparative year, which is 2025. Then I see here there's a tax rate. It is an editable cell. This tax rate is populating from the country that we selected. So we know South Africa's company's tax rate is 27%. If for any reason we want to change it, this is an editable cell that we can change. I can also see that my year-end date is here. If I need to change it for any reason, I can click the little calendar icon and select my relevant date. Now, Christo.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to touch base there. Like, so one of the things I know we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up some management accounts for Mr. Baguette later on this year.
Yes.
How would I set that up on our side? Is there anything specific that we need to do?
Yes, so if we're doing management accounts, we have this management accounts button here. All we need to do to set up is tick this button, and you'll see that these current period and prior period override dates open up. Now, what does this mean? It means that our year-end date is never changed. So this is always going to be our year-end date as the CIPC. And to set up the management account dates, I go on the period override setting. So let's say I'm doing a set of management accounts from March 2025 to May 2025. I know that these are the first 3 months of the 28 Feb 2026 tax year. So all I have to do is select the period end, which will be 31 May 2025, May 31 May 2025, and then I will just change my reporting period to be 3 months. Now the set will say this is a set of management statements for the 3-month period ended 31 May 2025. And I would do the same for the prior period. I would need to ask the client, do they want the comparative period in the management statements to be for 12 months or 3 months, and then set up the date as relevant. Now that we've discussed that, we know we're doing a full set of management accounts. So all I need to do is untick the management accounts button. The period override dates disappear, which means they're not going to be applied in my set. But I also need to change my reporting period to 12 months because this is a full 12-month set of financials. And you'll see that the AFS name automatically updates to be relevant. Now it's telling us these are annual financial statements as opposed to management statements. If we wanted our AFS name to be something else outside of annual financial statements, all we need to do is tick this override button, type in what we want. So if Mr. Warren Baguette wanted it to say the greatest, bestest, most amazing financial statements of the year, if that's what they want, what the client wants, the client gets, I would put that through, and then that would automatically pull through on my financials. Now, if we scroll, we see we also have additional disclosures in here. Now, some of this information is optional to have in our set. You'll see we have a currency symbol, default rand. Even our currency description is South African rand. I'm going to just fill in our tax number. Just going to copy that through that we've received from the tax practitioner. And then you see there are other fields. So we don't really want to disclose this, so we're going to leave it blank. Remember, we mentioned if there's anything that you don't want to pull through or that is not relevant, do not put an NA, just leave it blank, and then you can keep moving forward. Then we have, if we scroll, we also have our firm details here. And these, I believe, are our details as the preparer. Now, Christo, why is this grayed out? Because I would assume that I should be able to edit it if I want to. Is there something wrong?
So you can actually edit that. So what we've done there is it pulls it automatically from the practice settings. So you don't have to go type it again. And if you do want to edit it, then you just start typing. And as soon as you start typing, it will go and you'll see, there you go. It has turned from being gray to just solid black. And that would obviously be the change. And yeah, you can, if you've messed up, if you've typed something in that doesn't make sense, there is a little button there, copy firm details from practice settings. And if you select that, it defaults it back into your practice settings. So just a nice quick one that helps when updating those things.
That's perfect. Now I see I have a show additional practice details. I know we do have auditors that are going to be auditing this client, and we do want their details to be in the set. So I'm just going to fill that in under the additional practice. I know our auditors are Proof and Crumb Audit. Just going to fill in their details quickly. And they are actually on 11 Freshly Baked Avenue, and they are in Crispy Crumbs. That sounds so nice.
Sounds like the very best auditing firm out there.
It does.
One thing to mention there, we don't have all of their details just yet. So I'm waiting for who's actually going to sign off from the practice side. And that info we'll get from their side probably tomorrow. So for now, leave it blank. I'm pretty sure they're going to send us an audit report as well. So you can complete the info here. But yeah, we'll circle back to that at a later stage. And the nice part there is Draftworx will just update the financials as we do it.
Perfect. So now we've inputted their details. We see we've now gone to the fun part, the AFS customization. So just to touch briefly on what AFS customization is. Now we know that there are multiple ways in which information can be presented that are IFRS permissible. So instead of you having to worry about, is this, I want to customize this, I want to customize this, we do have various customization settings built in which allow you to curate your set of financials between the different ways in which information can be presented with the click of a button. So let's just go through them briefly. So you'll see here we have items that say, do you want to print detailed line items for these items? You tick the ones that you want. You'll see we also have for income taxes refunded and government grants. You have cash flow allocations. Do you want it to be on the operating, investing, financing, or a manual entry? You'll also see we have, with the click of a button, you can choose to have your accounting policies separate or combined with your notes. Even your balance sheet layout, you can choose, depending on what your client preferences are, whether you want to have a non-current and current layout or the order of liquidity. You also see we have a setting to merge our admin and distribution costs. I'll tick that. And then I'll navigate to my visual customization. Again here, how do I want my financials to look? Do I want to capitalize my sheet headers? Do I want my 1000 grouping to be a space or a comma? Where do I want my auditor's address to be aligned? Again, we have a really cool setting here that allows me to invert my detailed income statement debit as positive. So for example, our expenses are normally our debit. We can invert them to show as a positive figure without actually compromising the integrity of the calculation. Then we can also specify, do we want to align our director signatures, etc. Then we have the signature date setting where we can choose between a date and a blank line. Now, I know we don't have the signature date as yet. Christo?
Yeah, can we put that to blank line? Because we don't know what the date that Mr. Baguette's going to sign. And so let's put that to blank line and he can complete when he is ready to sign. I know he's a very busy man. So yeah, let's quickly do that. It should be quite a nice, easy adjustment.
Perfect. I've set it to blank line. And then we have our naming convention. So here is, what do we want to name things and how do we want to name things in our financials? So for example, you see we have our applicable act. If we have any additional acts that we need to comply with, I can specify that in the drop-down menu. I can type in what that act is and it will be brought in. You also see we have various naming conventions for equity, for distributions, for capital. I can edit these to be what I want it to be, and I have the option to select whether I want my presentation of profit or loss to be profit or loss or to say surplus or deficit without having to do the control find, replace in my financials. This will do it for me with a click of a button. We also have this reference to board setting. So if we want the board description to be board of directors, and instead of the financial saying the directors, we want it to say the board, the board, the board. We can tick this button and that will then pull through. Then we have naming conventions for our management and our owners. Now, you'll see here, you can choose for them to be anything on the drop-down menu. But Christo, I think there was something. I do remember us having a discussion with Mr. Baguette that they do have a specific...
So one of the companies on their side, they run as a non-profit, and I think it's called like the Cult of the Dough. And I know he mentioned that they don't have directors. They don't believe in directors in that entity. So they are called the Elders of the Sourdough. So I don't know, like we maybe just need to like modify that somehow over here. I'm not sure because we can't say trustees. These special non-profit entities.
Yes,
it's a weird one.
I think we can actually type in what it is. I do remember now that you've jogged my memory. They said that they refer to themselves as the elders of the sourdough. So I'm just going to put that through here. And then I'm going to click the drop down. You see it has automatically updated the management naming convention, even the plural, singular, etc. So now in that NPC, when we edit it here, it's actually going to say the elders of the sourdough. So that's quite
that's
nice.
so convenient. That's convenient. Easy shift. But luckily, this is our company. So let's make SARS and everyone happy. We're not going to do some weird naming convention. We can stick to directors for this one.
Perfect. So if I change it back automatically, it updates across and it is the directors. We also have our entity description here, being the company, and then you can also choose whether you want to have lower or proper case. So that's our client setup in a nutshell. I just want to bring to everyone's attention. On the left here, you'll see we have subcategories in our client setup. That means that these are clickable links. You can navigate to any of these particular sections with a click of a button. So if I needed to quickly navigate my financial years, I can click that button and it will jump to that place. In addition to that, we also have a search bar. That means that if I'm looking for a particular setting in my client setup that I'm not quite sure where it falls under, I can actually search. Here you see I've typed in cash because I want to change. I want the setting that allows me to change my cash flow between direct and indirect method. I found it. There's the drop down. I can select what I want. And then once I'm done with that setting and I'm happy with it, I can click the X button and it takes me back to the top of my client setup. So that's our client setup in a nutshell. If I go back to my startup tab, remember we said that this is our step-by-step guide. You'll see that the second step that we have is capturing our trial balance, our financial information. So to go to my trial balance, I can click here, or I can go through financial data, working trial balance, and it's going to open up my trial balance for me. Now, because I haven't imported any financial information, it's currently telling me no rows to show. So how do I bring in my financial information? Now, there are multiple ways. One of the ways in which you can import is directly from the accounting system. You'll see that we have buttons here that allow you to import from Sage Business Cloud Zero and from QuickBooks. And if you're interested to know how to import directly from your accounting system, please join us on the 29th for our advanced session, where we will go through the direct imports. We also have buttons here to import from a previous case with file and to import from Excel. So I do know, Christo, that Mr. Warren Baguette did he send us a trial balance?
So what I did there, Taff, is I actually went and I set up the client portal for Mr. Baguette, and I requested the TB there, and he already sent it to us. So if you want to just hop onto the portal, you're going to be able to see we actually have access to that, and you can just download it and go from there.
Perfect. So to navigate to my client portal, this new button that we are somewhat not familiar with, but we're getting to be acquainted with it, I'll click it. It's going to open up my client portal. So let's just see if we have enabled. I think we do have to enable quickly, so I'll just do that. This is covered in depth in our advanced session. So please do join the 29th if you are interested in our advanced session. We will cover in depth how to do this. So I'm just going to close this and then click the button again. That's going to open up my client portal. There we go. I'm not
If you go back to entities, you should be able to see the one that I created earlier. Let's just have a quick double check there. Okay, now you will have to excuse us. We will quickly, Taff, you do have it your side, so you can just use that.
I do have it my side. So what I will do in the meantime, because I do know he did send us some info, I'm going to Summer import it. So now if I want to import from Excel, I'm going to click the Excel button and select my file. Now this is already on my PC. So all I need to do is, for example, that is not where it is. I'm just going to find it. It should be in my downloads. There we go. And then I have this import from Excel screen. Now, what am I doing on the screen? I'm telling Draftworx where in this Excel are my account numbers? Where in my Excel are my account names? Where are my debits? And where are my credits? So I'm simply telling the system where this information is. So my account numbers are in column A, names in B, debits and credits are both in column C. So in the instance where my debits and my credits were in different columns, I would have selected the relevant columns. I have this place here that says from which row am I importing this financial information? I want to say from the first row, that is my TB line item. So I'm going to say from row 2 is where I want to import. So in the instance, for example, where the client sends a trial balance that has got multiple headings, you don't have to edit all those headings out and then import. You can simply take the Excel as is and then select from the relevant row that you need to import from. You'll see at the bottom here, I have a little preview that's telling me that this is my account number, account names, my debits and my credits. And then I have a button here where it says import into, and I have a drop-down menu with various options. If I scroll, I can see that I have budgeted figures. So I can import budgeted figures. That means that we do have the functionality to do budgets and to do budgeted forecasts. We also have monthly figures. Now, we do know we have the functionality in Draftworx to do our monthly management accounts. So if that was the case, I would have selected months here. And one really cool thing is, if I click month 1 here, there's a little button here that pops up that says import other months from consecutive columns. What does this mean? It means that if I have selected column C as my first month, that means column D, E, F is going to be month 2, month 3, month 4. It's going to be imported. And that means that I don't have to import, if I'm doing monthly management accounts, I don't need to import 12 times. I can actually import once, tick this button, and the system is going to bring in my month 1 to month 12 in one go, saving me so much time. So we are doing a full set of financials. I'm going to click opening balance. You do see we have interim option here. That means that if we were importing interim figures, we can actually do that. So I'll click opening balance. And why is it saying opening balance here when this is my figures as of the last day of the year? It says that because these are the figures that we are starting with as the preparer. So these are the figures before we as the preparer make any changes to them. So it's the figures as of the last day of the year before we as the preparer make any changes to them. Now that I'm happy, I can click the import button and the system is going to import my financial information. I can see my account numbers, my account names, my figures in my opening balance column. I can see that the row at the bottom here has got zeros. I'm happy with that because it means that my trial balance is in balance. If my trial balance was not in balance, I would have had figures in this row, and I would need to resolve that before I can open my set of financials. Now I can see at the bottom here, it's saying that I have opening profit of 0, even 2025 profit is 0. But that's not quite right. And I can already see that that's not okay. But also I can see that I haven't imported my prior years, my comparative years. So let me do that quickly. If I go to tax year, you'll see I have an add prior button. If I click it, it's going to create a tax year for me, which is my 2025 tax year, allowing me to import my 2025 figures. And I'll do the same concept that I did with 2026. Select my Excel. There's my TB. And then do the assigning of my columns like I did with my 2026 year from row 2 opening balance. And then I click import. Then I do add prior. We always want to import the 3 years that we have. So if we're doing a set of financials for 2026, we always want to bring in 2025 and 2024. Now, I'm not quite sure why this is important. Maybe, Christo, you can elaborate why.
Yeah, so one of the main things that we have, the reason for the 3 years is that Draftworx can automate everything for us. It just makes life 1,000 times easier, because if it only has 2 years, then Draftworx can't automate your cash flow. And I mean, who wants to do a manual cash flow? Please stick up your hand. I have yet to find someone. So Draftworx, if it has 3 years, it can automate all those sets for you. Essentially, the cash flow gets automated, and it makes life really 1,000 times easier.
Yes, oh, that's perfect. I do want an automated cash flow, so we've brought in all the years. Now, I can still see at the bottom here, it's still telling me that my opening profit is 0. Why is it telling me that? That's because I haven't told the system where all these accounts are supposed to be allocated on the financials, which is what we do when we are linking. That's essentially what linking is. So how do we link? There are again multiple ways. The first way, we can actually click this little icon. It's going to open up a link screen, allowing us to search for what we are looking for. So I know I'm trying to link sales. So I know that is a revenue item. So I'm going to search revenue here. And I can even further filter to say the type, income statement. And then I can even say maybe a category of income is what I'm looking for. And you'll see that the list filters to show me all the relevant items with revenue details on the income statement, the category of income. And you'll see that this is an exhaustive list. We've got revenue, sale of goods, rendering of services, royalties, etc. So then I would choose the relevant link number that relates to the type of revenue that we actually have. In this case, it's going to be sale of goods. So I'm going to select that, say select, and then we are good to go. Second way in which we can link, we can click the show hide link numbers button. And instead of having that pop-up screen, we have that screen side by side with our trial balance. And the really cool thing is you can actually move this split screen to be what you want it to be. So now that I have it side by side, how do I link when I have my links on the right and my TB on the left? So you can actually, for example, select, you can even multi-select. You can select the accounts that you want to link, find it on the right. So I'm going to search advertising, and then I can just double click and it will link to those items. I can also drag and drop. So if I wanted, for example, to link inventory, for example, I can go and search. I can say other inventory, find the link number, and then I can actually drag and drop it to this place. It's very important to note that if you are using the double clicking method, because you can drag and drop or double click, you need to either have the item that you want to link selected, otherwise it links the next unlinked item. So for example, if I wanted to link training, I wouldn't need to select it. But if I wanted to link share capital, I would need to select it on the screen on the left and then select the link on the right, and it will be linked. So that's the second way that we can link. Now, the third way in which you can link your accounts, you can ask the system to link for you, which I found so much easier because sometimes you have a TV that has got multiple line items and you don't really have the time to be doing the linking one by one. So I'm going to ask the system to link. I'm going to click the smart linking button. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. I'll say yes, I'm sure. I want to save time. And it's going to load and then give me a little pop-up screen telling me that smart linking makes use of machine learning. And then it's giving me an overall confidence level. It's telling me 61%. It tells me 6 entries have a high confidence level, 3 medium, 7 low. Whenever you ask the system to link for you, it's very important to review that linking because linking is very entity specific. It depends on your client where they want to put items on the financials. So it's very important to review that linking. So now I'm going to go through the linking that we have here, what has actually happened, etc. Now, you'll see whatever's been linked by the system doesn't have a smart confidence level, but whatever has been linked by the system has got a confidence level. And the really cool thing about this is I can actually use this orange bar to search and filter. So I can actually filter to say, well, I want to see everything that is, for example, maybe not contains. We want to filter to say equals, for example, maybe 16, because I know it's a 16%. So you can filter to see what you're looking for. I want to actually just scroll through and see if I'm happy with any of the linkings that are actually here. So the first place to navigate
to mention, Tav, the quickest way to sort that is just if you click on the heading itself. So if you click on the heading Smart Link Confidence, you'll see it's going to sort it smallest to largest. And that's probably the quickest way to sort anything. You can do some extra cool sorts in that drop down that you just showed. I think we might cover some of them in the advanced. But yeah,
Perfect.
if you just want to do a quick sort, you just click on that heading.
That's perfect. Now I can see now I have this low confidence level. These ones I can review. So I can see already this one, dojo expenses, is being linked to motor vehicle expenses. But I do know that these are not motor vehicle expenses. It's actually other expenses. So I'll click that little button. I'm going to search and find my other expenses. And then there's the link number. I say select. I have changed the link number. I can also change my link numbers when I have them side by side with my show hide link numbers. So if I do this as well, I can easily, for example, as I'm doing my review, I can do that. But if I have my show hide link numbers, my smart link confidence level disappears. So if I want to still see that, I want to come back and have it. Now, as we are doing...
Just to mention something there, because I know for a fact, if I put down anything that says other expenses for Mr. Baguette, he is going to come from France and he's going to hit me over the head with some bread. And so we can't say other expenses there for dojo expenses. We'll need to sort that out. So how do we how are we going to fix that on our side? Like, I can't have that say other expenses on the financials. And I know I always have this thing. If I type it in manually, then you know, I'll type it in one place and I forget it appears somewhere else, and then it looks horrible as well.
So the really cool thing about Draftworx is you can edit these link descriptions to cater to your client needs. So for example, I can actually copy the dojo expenses, and here under link description, I can actually paste it. And that is going to be the link description that is going to pull through on the set of financials.
So convenient.
It's pretty
and it's
convenient.
Going to appear everywhere.
It's going to appear everywhere. We also just want to now continue with our link numbers. I can see here I have my bank balance that has been linked to bank charges. This is not correct, so I can just click that little arrow, find my bank balances. I can search for that and then select the link number, select, and I am good to go. We're happy with our motor vehicles. We are also happy with our the computer equipment. This should be office equipment, right, Christo?
So we have some that, yeah, we can just modify that. That should definitely not be computer equipment. I don't know what computers they have in a bakery, but I'm certain they do not have anything that should be classified as computer equipment on our side.
Perfect. Then I can see the training in the door arts. This was supposed to be revenue fees, right? Because they do charge people baking services and training for that. So I can actually go and search for fees. And I'll see if I put an I here, which is for income, because we know this is a revenue in nature. I have my revenue fees that I can select. Click select, and then that is then going to pull through. I'm happy with my cost of sales, with my salaries. Here we have our bank balance that has not been linked, so we want to change that to be the second bank balance. Now, just to confirm, Christo, they do want these bank balances to show as different line items in the financials, right?
Yeah, so we need to split those bank balances. We should have them into two separate ones. So if you select, you'll see there are two different bank, or up to 5 different bank ones there. So if you select number 2, it's going to split it from 1, and in the notes we'll have that split. Additionally to that, just as a note, and we'll cover this a little bit more in depth in the advanced, but if you have a lot of bank accounts, more than 5, because you'll see we only had 5 listed there, right? If you have more than 5, then we can add additional ones for you automatically in Draftworx. So it's something just to keep an eye out for in the advanced.
Yes, that's perfect. And in the instance where we had maybe some 1 or 2 accounts that remained unlinked, if we don't want to scroll through our whole trial balance, we can click the link heading and it will bring all the unlinked items to the top. Clicking it as well allows us to sort it in an ascending or descending order, depending on the method that we want. Now, I do see on this trial balance that we don't have any tax, and I do know that we're going to raise some tax for them. So I'm going to just create a TB entry for the tax. Quickly, I'm going to type in the tax account number, and then I also have an account name. This little arrow I'll select to select the link number. So I'm going to say T for tax, search taxation. There it is. And then I say select. Before we actually go over, I can see that the shareholder's loan is non-current. I remember we briefly had a chat. He had mentioned something along the lines of wanting it to be paid off within the year now. What's that story looking like?
100%. So I think we need to do, Mr. Baguette wants to pay off that shareholder's loan. So what we're going to do is you want to make it non-current, but only for the current year, because we don't want it to affect the prior year's information, right? Mm-hmm. So if we select that, you should be able to say non-current, and then I believe we'd be able to go from there. You can just have a quick double check.
Okay, so I'm going to go and then select C.731 short term, and then this current only button is what's going to actually make it a current liability in the current year without actually changing the link number. So if I have 2026 open and I search 8601, you'll see my 2026 has got the link number C.731, which is current liability. But if I go to 2025 and I search the same account, you'll see that it's got the non-current link number. So I only changed the link number in 2026, which completely eliminates the need to process reclassifying entries, which makes life so much easier.
One thing I saw just while you were reviewing and while we've been chatting a bit, Taff, the one bank account, I see the Golden Grains bank account. It's a liability in the current year, but last year it was an asset. So with Draftworx, is that not going to cause a problem where like now I'm going to have a negative value sitting in my assets or something along those lines?
So one really cool thing about Draftworx is these C dot and the N dot link numbers are clever enough to actually read what we have in the current year and the prior years. So if the figure is a positive in each relevant year, it's going to correctly allocate it to asset. We don't need to do anything about it. And if in the prior year it was a liability, it will allocate it to a liability based off of whether it is positive or negative. So we don't actually have to do any reclassifying entries or worry about it. The C dot link number is going to allocate it to the correct place.
Fantastic. That's so awesome. Thanks so much. The one other thing that I saw was, I know that they have two asset classes, and we've combined the depreciation in the system on the Excel, obviously. So I think we just need to split that depreciation at some point.
Yes,
I'm not 100% sure how we would do that in Draftworx.
So the best practice, if we want to split out our depreciation, to process a journal, to split it out. Now, where do I process a journal? Under financial data, I have journal entries, and this is my journal screen. You'll see on the left here, we're seeing something that we're already familiar with. Green bar, we know for entering new information, creating something new. We saw it on our client setup. We also saw it on our working trial balance. We are now seeing it on our journal screen. Again, orange as well. We are very familiar. We know it's to search and filter. So to create my journal, I specify my adjustment type. Now, there are different adjustment types that we have here. So we have drafting, which is for disclosure purposes. Overs and unders is normally for our audits. Not recorded is the feature that we use when we want to switch off a journal. So sometimes, we want to post a journal and see the financial effect and impact that it has. And then sometimes we want to remove it. Instead of now having to post and delete and do it again and again, we can just switch off a journal. The information will be contained, but it won't apply on the financials, and we can always come back to it if we want to switch it back on. Standing journals are for our consoles, which will be covered in our advanced session. And then we have interim, which affects interim figures, budget, which affects budgeted figures. So I just want to select normal adjusting because I just want to adjust and split out my depreciation. So now I'm going to put in my description, which is going to be entry to split depreciation. And I'll put that through as my reference as well. Then I click enter. So now I have created my journal. Now, how do I post my debits and my credits? I do it on the screen on the right. The first way to select an account is click the drop-down menu. I can scroll to find what I'm looking for, or I can search for it. Depreciation. There we go. Select the account, put in the amount. So I want to take out the depreciation for office equipment out of this account, the motor vehicles. So I'm going to say minus 2,000 and click enter. Now I've posted my credit leg, which is minus. Now, Christo, I can see that I have a little triangle here, and that's worrying me. What does this mean?
So that triangle is a nice little warning for accounting 101, right? For every debit, there must be a credit. Or in this case, for every credit, there must be a debit. So if you have created a journal that doesn't have both sides of debit and credit, we'll give you that warning. The system's just going to give you a nice flag and say, listen, be aware your TB or your journal at least is not in balance, which is going to throw your TB out of balance, which is going to throw your financials out of balance. And then we have true chaos. And that's why Draftworx stops you before the chaos even starts.
Oh, great. Love that. So now I'm going to post my debit so that I can balance out my journal and be a good accountant who knows that every debit equals credit. So to post my debit, I'm going to click this little arrow to select the account. You see there's a little pop-up screen, all the accounts that exist in my trial balance. Now, I want to post to the depreciation account that is for office equipment. So I can say depreciation, I'll say office equipment. Now, I can see that this account doesn't exist in my TV. Now, how can I post to an account that doesn't exist in my trial balance? I don't actually have to go back to my TV and create it and then come back. I can actually do this on the screen, because on the screen, we'll see that I have that green row, again, that we are very familiar with. We know that green row, we can create something new, input new information. So I can actually go and specify my account number and my account name for this depreciation account that we need to allocate our depreciation to. I can click the little arrow, find the link number, and then I can search for it. Depreciation, I know that it is the depreciation for office equipment. I say select and I click enter. I have now created this account in my trial balance without actually having to go back to my trial balance, which is really quite cool. And then now to select it for my journal, I can just click it, select, type in my amount, which is positive 2,000 because it's the debit, click enter, and voila, Christo, my triangle has disappeared. Yay!
Yay, Draftworx gives you a green tick for balancing your journal.
Green
That's
for
amazing.
go.
Well
That's
done.
amazing.
That being said, quick question. Is this now saved to my working TB? Or how would I actually see this journal now on our working trial balance side?
So if we actually go to our working trial balance now, you'll see that my adjustments column has updated for the journal that I've posted. Whenever we post a journal, it populates in our adjustments column. There's my plus 2,000 and my minus 2,000. Whatever I'm going to see on my financials is my 2026 final figure. Now that we are back here on our TB, I just want to touch on some of the menu button options that we have and what they actually do for us. So we have a button here that allows us to export our working trial balance. So Excel, we briefly touched on consoles. We did mention these are going to be covered in our advanced session on the 29th. Please do join if you're interested in that. Then we have a delete button, which allows us to clear our working trial balance for all years, selected years. You can delete selected entries. You can also clear your link numbers, zero all the balances, all the monthly balances, and you can remove empty accounts. We also have these buttons here that will be covered in our advanced session. And then in Draftworx, we have functionality to translate your figures to a different currency. So like with us, we know that we are in a group setting, this company is in a group setting, and we might need to translate figures. In the case that we would do that setup foreign currency, and it's very easy to toggle between the translated figures and the original RAND figures, but this will be covered in our advanced session. If we quickly jump to our journal entries, we also have menu button options here. You'll see at the top, we've got the tax years. That means that we can post a journal to any of the tax years that we actually have in our working trial balance. So if, for example, this journal was supposed to be posted into 2025, I don't have to worry. I can actually just copy or move that journal to the relevant, either following or prior tax year. You can also import your journals from Excel. You can also directly export your journals to your accounting system, which, if you're interested, is covered in our advanced session, and you can export your journals to Excel. We also have functionality to post your monthly journals. Now, if you click this button, it's going to activate the dates. That means you can specify the date at which this journal is being posted. And this is quite relevant in the instance where we are doing management accounts. In our case, this is a full set. So I'm just going to switch that off, and then we are good to go. Now I'm going to navigate back to my working trial balance. Christo, as the partner, I'm just going to ask you if you're happy with the work that we've done so far. And if you are happy, then we would be good to go. Just have a look. Let me know.
Fantastic. All right. So we had a good look at importing everything, and the data looks to be all there. I love the smart linking. That was so quick and easy to do. But I also love the fact that you reviewed it so well. And I think it's always important. We got to review what the computers tell us, right? Yes. And yeah, I think we're ready to go. If we look at a few things, there's nothing that is unlinked. There are also, the trial balance is not out of balance. So we've got the little zeros at the bottom, right? So that means we're good to go. And I think what we will do, though, is we're going to take a quick break. And once we are done with the break, let's make it a 10-minute break. And once we're done with the break, we're going to jump into doing the financials and, get these financials done for Mr. Baguette and go from there.
Perfect. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. I cannot wait to have a slice of toasted sourdough bread in the kitchen waiting for us. Everybody else, please do grab a cup of coffee. If you like some sourdough toast, please do go grab one, because we are about to get into the fun stuff of things.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks so much, Taff, for such a wonderful session. We'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Thanks so much, Shane. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. And thanks, Clarissa, for helping out with the Q&A. I see those answers fly through before I can even get to them, so I appreciate it. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we can continue working, Taff. We need to jump straight into the financials and get these files done. Mr. Weirt's waiting. And I believe you can just grab the screen share and we can go from there.
Perfect. So I am sharing my screen now. Can everyone see my screen?
Looks good to me.
Okay, I'm just going to switch off my video. There we go. So what we're currently seeing again is our startup tab, because remember I mentioned at the beginning that this is our step-by-step guide. You'll see we did our first setup. We also captured our trial balance. We did the linking together. Now we get to the fun stuff and we can view our financials. So to view my financials, again, I can click this button or I can go to Financial Data, Financials, and I'm going to open them up. It's going to load for a few seconds. And as it's loading, it's just processing everything, taking information from my client setup, from my working TB, from my journal, and populating it in this beautiful template. Now, this is my set of financials. There are some things in here that might not be relevant to my client, and we'll go through them in a chronological order so we can see how we can switch off some of the things that we don't need and how to navigate this template. Now, here is my checklist sheet. Now, this is normally not part of a set of financials when we see a set of financials. So why is this here? And how can I use it to my advantage as a user or a preparer of financials? So you'll see, we as Draftworx have come and said to you, as our client, as a preparer of financials, that we have a template that assists you in complying with the accounting standard and the legislative requirements of that country. But we are all accountants and auditors here. And we know that we have to apply a level of professional skepticism. You cannot just take my word for it just because I said that it's there. And that's why this checklist is here. So how can you use it to your advantage? You'll see we have IFRS for SMEs accounting standard. If I open up this little grouping over here, it actually has all the sections that are specified in the IFRS for SMEs accounting standard. How cool is that? Especially when you're not really an IFRS expert like that, you can actually use this. You can open up any of the relevant section that you need. In my case, I'm going to open up section 23 revenue, and you'll see it specifies what are the general disclosures about revenue as per the accounting standard. Section 23.30 paragraph A says that an entity shall disclose the accounting policies adopted for the recognition of revenue. Now, in addition to that, so we're not just telling you that's what section 23 says, we actually have a hyperlink that takes you to the accounting policy. So if I click here, this blue hyperlink, it's going to take me to the accounting policies where a pre-populated accounting policy specifying the accounting policies adopted for the recognition of revenue is already preset for me. This makes life so much easier because now I know the items that are required as per the accounting standard are included in my template. Secondly, it's already pre-populated for me. I can edit it if I want to. You can see that the formula bar is editable. So if I wanted to edit this, I can easily do that. But to make my life so much easier, it's already pre-populated for me. So I'm happy with that. And whatever's pre-populated in our accounting policies notes is whatever is relevant to our particular client file. So you see we have revenue, and you'll see, for example, here we have tax that's not open. Why is this not open? Because we currently don't have tax in our trial balance. So the moment that we actually have tax, this would then populate. The reason why inventories is populating is because we do have inventories in our trial balance. So this concept does apply in our accounting policy, in our notes. You always see what is relevant to you, and what is pre-populated in your template set is what is relevant to that particular client file, which makes life so much easier. If I jump back to my checklist, we spoke about the accounting standards, right? We now know how to use these to our advantage, especially when the client wants to second guess why something is in the template. We can always come to our checklist and be like, well, as per paragraph, section 23.30 paragraph A, this is required, etc. In addition to the accounting standards, we have the South African legislative requirements. Now, we know that the Companies Act specifies certain requirements when it comes to financial reporting. We also have a checklist in here that actually tells you, for example, section 29 specifies as per paragraph E that on the first page of the financials, there needs to be a prominent notice indicating whether financial statements have been audited. If not audited, that they've been independently reviewed. If not, that they are not audited. Again, in addition to having this information, we have a hyperlink taking us exactly on the cover page where this information has been pre-populated for us. So currently it's saying that these are my audited financial statements. And when I go to the formula bar here, I can see that the formula bar is grayed out. So I can't really change this information here. Christo, I'm not quite sure. How do I change this? Let's say my set is independently reviewed. How do I change this to be from being audited to independently reviewed?
All right. So one of those things that we have in place is, well, firstly, you will see that the formula is locked. The reason we lock that is so that not anyone can just type over it, right? Because this is a regulatory standard. The wording there is standardized by the Companies Act. And that's why we kind of lock down certain formulas so nobody can go and just type over them and do whatever they want. And we'll cover how to unlock formulas a little bit in the advanced. But the other thing here is that formula is anyway too complicated. I don't know. If I look at it, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to edit it and customize it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go to the Content tab at the top of the screen, and we'll see there's a whole list of essentially all of our different sheets that are active at the moment. And if we simply click on the one that says Report Audit, it's going to take away the audit report, and you'll see that's automatically updated. Draftworx has built it in. Now it's going to say independently reviewed, and you can toggle those on and off as you see fit. So in this case, we are actually getting audited. So you actually want to reactivate it, which is simply, again, clicking on it, and you can see it switched back to audited, and you're good to go. So you can close anything that's not relevant on this little tab at the top.
Perfect. So I know that I now know how to use my checklist. I'm going to switch it off. I'm going to switch off the report review since we're being audited. I'll switch off report officer, report psycher. I am going to need these sheets. I'm going to switch off the ratios sheet. So these are just the financial ratios, liquidity ratios. I know Mr. Warren Baguette doesn't really want to disclose this, so I'm going to switch them off. We also have a sustainability report. He has asked us to switch this off as well, so I'll switch it off. And there's our ITR 14 that we were mentioning. I see it. Okay, income, there's the ITR 14. Okay, I see it. I don't think we're going to be needing this. We did speak to Mr. Warren Baguette. He said it's fine. He just wants a normal set. So I'm going to switch it off. And as I'm switching off my sheets, you'll see that at the bottom here, the tabs that I have open become less and less, because whatever I see at the bottom here is whatever is relevant to this client file and whatever is going to be printing. So if I switch off a sheet, the tab disappears here at the bottom. And it's very easy. I can see it's easy to switch sheets on and off at the top. So I can easily do that. Now that we've covered our cover page, we know how to switch off our sheets. We also have our index page. Now, I can see here I've got my items and I see it says here preview to update. Now I know this means that the page numbers are going to update when you run a full preview. Now I know as well that when we run a full preview, because the page numbering is automated, the system is going to read everything. Doesn't matter where the page breaks are, where we've moved stuff around, the page numbering is going to be perfect every time, like Tastic Rice. So I'm going to just leave this here. The page numbers will populate when we run a full preview. Then we have our management information page. All this information is pulling through from client setup. I can see my country of incorporation. I'm happy with that. That's South Africa. And even my registration date, nature of business, which is the best and most magical bakery ever. By the way, that sourdough toast was amazing. Moving on. We also have our directors' information. Then we have our shareholders' information. I'm happy with this. Then I can see here at the bottom, I do have the addresses. I have the tax number.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're happy with this, Christo.
Not exactly. So we've got the same address, the registered address is the same as the business and postal. So I'd actually want to remove that. And the tax number there as well, I'm pretty certain Mr. Baguette wouldn't want us to have that, on his side. So if we could just hide that, I'm not sure how you would do it. Can you just touch on that?
So if I want to hide, for example, the business address and the postal address, these are all sections. You'll see there's a grouping here. So this is a whole section. If I want to switch all of this off, I can simply close the grouping and it's going to switch off everything in that particular section that I've just closed off. So now the business address is not printing. I'll do the same for our postal address. I'll close the grouping. It's going to close that section and everything in that section in that grouping is not going to print anymore. With our tax number, I can actually switch off the row that is printing. So you'll see there's a little dot here. Whenever we have a black dot, it means that row is printing and part of our set. So to switch it off, I click it. It becomes grayed out. It also has that blue shading, which means it's not printing. Now on my set, I'm only going to have a registered address and the tax number is now going to be switched off. And then we are happy with that. Now that we are done with our management information page, we know how to switch off our rows. We can navigate to our director's responsibility. This is pre-populated for us. There are some formulas in here. We also have the shareholders information here at the bottom. And I can see here where it says we're signed on. I do have a blank line as I've set up in my client setup since we are not sure when Mr. Warren Baguette is going to sign. So I'm happy that that has put through onto my set. And then also on my director's report, I've got this report with pre-populated information. I don't have to worry about typing in a whole director's report. And then I can actually select whatever I want to include in this report. So we have a review of activities. We have paragraph 2 for our going concern. You'll see there are multiple rows here with information. And I can easily, with the click of a button, turn on the rows that I want to be included, that I want to print, and easily again switch them off if I don't want them to print. So we do really have a lot of leeway to switch on and off items that we feel are not relevant for us by clicking the dots that we have here. You'll also see we have groupings here. So if I wanted to open up a particular section, Instead of having to click the rows, all the rows in that section, I can simply open up the grouping. You'll see that all the information in the grouping will be opened up, and that means that that whole section will be printing. So that's our director's information with all the information that we do have. And then in the instance, I do know that the director's report, Mr. Baguette had asked for this to be just before the statement of financial position, but currently it's not there. So I'm going to try and move it. To do that, I'm going to have it open like I have now. Go to content. And then on the left here, I'm going to say move sheet right because I'm trying to move it in the right direction so that it is before the SOFP. If I wanted to move it to the left, I would have clicked the move left button. So I'm going to click move right until I am in the desired position, which is just before the statement of financial position here. And I am then happy with that. Then we have our audit report. So this is the generic Draftworx audit report that we have. You can select the basis of opinion that the auditors have said they are giving us, and then we would then be good to go. Christo, just to confirm, do you know if the auditors are going to send us a PDF or they want us to use the generic Draftworx report?
So they did say they want to type up something on their side. So what we need to do, they did ask if we can just prep the system for a 2-sheet audit report. They said they didn't find anything crazy, but 2 sheets would be sufficient for them. I'm not sure. How do we ensure that there's like just two sheets in Draftworx side?
Perfect. So if we want this to be a 2-page report, all we simply need to do is go to the bottom of the sheet, open up this little grouping plus where it says expand the section to create blank pages. And if we want a 2-page report, we open the grouping for the 2-page report. And then now it means that our auditor's report is going to have 2 pages. Another cool thing you'll see here, it's currently pulling through our address as the preparer. And remember, we did put in there additional details in our client setup. So if I wanted their address to pull through, I would simply go to Simpler Tools, and then I would say apply additional practice and their address in Crispy. I'm just going to do that. Okay. It should have updated to be the Crispy, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. And it doesn't really matter in this case because they are going to send us their PDF. So now we have the 2-page report. We're happy with that. We can go to our report of the compiler. Now we are the compilers. I know we are the compilers. And I do know that we have a letterhead, Christo. So where are we going to add the letterhead?
So the letterhead gets added in the print preview stage. So for now, we don't have to worry about it at all. I've actually already uploaded a letterhead, and because we're working on Draftworx Cloud, that letterhead's available to you as soon as you run the print preview. It's going to already be on your side, and you can just tell it to be on, the compiler sheet.
Perfect. So I'll do that. And then we can move over to our statement of financial position. Now, you'll see that we've got all our information. We've got our non-current assets, current assets, etc. You'll also see here that the formulas on this sheet are all locked. Now, why are they locked? Because this statement of financial position is governed by accounting standards on how it should look and what can be included on this sheet. So to try and minimize override when it comes to that so that we comply with the accounting standards, the formulas are locked. Now, what happens if you know for a fact, or you are like, this number is not quite correct. Can't figure out, but I'm not quite sure why, but it's not correct. You can always right click, say drill down, and you'll see that it actually gives you the breakdown of all the accounts that make up this figure that we have. And then we can see, okay, it's giving us office equipment, cost, accumulated depreciation, etc. So if there was an account in here that was not supposed to be part of PPE, we can easily identify it on this drill down screen, navigate to our working trial balance, change the link number, and then we would be good to go. We can also export our drill down to Excel if anyone wants to have a look at it to see what is contained in there. You'll also see we have a hyperlink that takes us to the note. And we also have a hyperlink that takes us to the lead schedule. So if I click that, it's going to open up my lead schedule. It's going to load for a few seconds. And this is my lead schedule. The lead schedules pre-populate based off of the linking that we've done in the TV. So we don't have to do anything to create these lead schedules. They pre-populate by themselves. Another place again that we can navigate them is lead schedules and open up the relevant lead schedule. You'll see that whatever lead schedule is relevant doesn't have a gray shading. That means that it is applicable. So if it doesn't have shading, it's applicable. If it has shading, it is not applicable. We don't have investment property. That's why it's not applicable. So if I navigate back to my financials, you can also see I have a possible note mismatch here. Now, what does this mean? If I go to my note and I open up my note, I can see that I have differences in my difference column. And that possible note mismatch was simply telling me that whatever I have in my note is not the same as the figures that I have on my SOFP, which are based purely off of the trial balance. So here is my difference. If I go to my status sheet, you'll also see that that difference is also pulling through on my status sheet. So the status sheet will tell us when there's something wrong in our financials that's not balancing, but so will our SOFP when we have a note mismatch. So to go to my note, I'm going to click the note button. It's going to open up my note. Now, how does this work? This works like a fixed asset register. And what it's simply saying, the system is saying, I can see that you had these opening balances at the beginning of March. And then you had these balances at the end of Feb, at the end of the year. But the only movement that the system has picked up is this depreciation. And the system is saying, hi, corner. It's not mathing. The maths is not mathing because how do you move from this to this with only this movement? Tell me what happened. So in this case, I would then go to the client and say, please may you provide me with the fixed asset register so that I can tell what the movements were in our PPE. So Christo, just to confirm, did Mr. Warren Bucket send us the fixed asset register?
He did. He actually did send it. And you know what? I actually got it now on the client portal. So you're welcome to grab it from there. You know, earlier I had misspelled his email. I'm sorry, guys. And then there was nothing there when you tried to join. If you hop there now, you should see in the files section of our client portal.
There we go.
We can see that there's the fixed asset register. And you can just grab it from there. And you should be able to use it.
Perfect. So I see we have the fixed asset register. We have an actions button here. I can actually send this fixed asset register to Draftworx. I can also download it, which will be covered in depth in our advanced session on Thursday, 29th January. So please do join if you're interested. But now I'm going to quickly just send it over. And I can actually select where do I want to send it over. So I'm going to send it into the documents folder. I'll say OK. And this has now been sent to my Draftworx. When I go to my Draftworx now, under my documents, I can see I should have, if I scroll, where is it? Okay, let's do this. Documents. Did I send it to the documents folder, Christo, or I am daydreaming now about that sourdough toast that we had?
I think the sourdough toast is having some effects on the both of us. Have a check. I'm pretty sure we sent it through. If you send through to Draftworx, you can quickly check.
So I will just download it quickly. And then what I will do is I will have a look at it. If I go to my downloads folder, let me just bring that over. I'll just bring over the fixed asset register that they would have given me. And then, okay, I'll give it a few seconds to load. There we go. So this is the fixed asset register. Now, the moment that I'm actually looking at it, I know that on my Draftworx, the difference that I have is this 2,000 on the office equipment. So if I go to my fixed asset register and I hit under office equipment, I can see that here is office equipment. We had an opening balance cost of 20,000. Then we had additions of 2,000. And now it's clicking to me that, oh, the movement that they actually had in their PPE for office equipment is additions. So all I need to do is go on Draftworx and say, we had additions from acquisitions of 2,000. I click that. And then we'll see that that difference disappears on my PPE Recon. And if I scroll, the total difference has also disappeared. If I go to my statement of financial position, my possible note mismatch has disappeared because now my note matches what is on my SOFP, because we always want our face of the financials to match what is in our notes. Now I'm happy with that. Draftworx is really good at checking and making sure that those crosses and balances are equaling and speaking the same language. If I also go to my status sheet, you'll see that my difference for my PPE Recon has also disappeared. But another cool thing that I can see here is that statement of cash flows as well has disappeared, because I had a difference of 2,000 in my statement of cash flows. And this is what we mean when we say that the statement of cash flows is automated, because we know when we have additions in our PPE, that's a line item on our statement of cash flows under investing activities, purchase of PPE. Now, instead of you needing to go and complete that information, it pre-populates for you on your statement of cash flows based off of the information in our notes. So now that I know how that works, I'm happy with it. I've reconciled my issue on my SOFP. I can then move on. So if I scroll to the bottom of the sheet, you'll see we have our non-current assets, current assets, and then we also have our non-current liabilities. And at the bottom, we have an out of balance line item. This simply means that if we were out of balance on our statement of financial position, this would have populated figures here. Then the next sheet we have is our statement of comprehensive income. And again, these formulas are locked. Same concept with our statement of financial position. We can drill down on any of the cells in our financials that have financial information. So I can drill down here and it shows me the breakdown of whatever is included in there. And I can always then go back to my working TV if I need to change anything, or export to CSV if I need to do that. We also have a hyperlink that takes us to the note and a hyperlink that takes us to the lead schedule as well. We see here we have a consolidated line item for our other expenses. This is because we did choose to merge our admin and distribution costs in our client setup. If we wanted to have admin costs separate, we would have just unticked that button in our client setup, and that would have pulled through for us. We scroll to the bottom of the sheet, you'll see we've got our profit for the year. We always want to make sure that this is the same as what we have at the bottom here. And then you'll also see at the bottom of this sheet, if you want to present a summary of your statement of changes in equity here, you can turn that on, and then that would populate for you. Then we have our statement of changes in equity. Again, same concept, formula driven. However, we know that our statement of changes in equity is a big reconciliation. That means that where we have movements in equity, we need to reconcile them using these dark blue cells that we have. Wherever you see these dark blue cells in Draftworx, it means it's an input cell and you can input the relevant information. You even see that the formula bar is not locked. So where we need to reconcile movements in equity, we would do that in these cells. You'll see that we have the other changes not yet reconciled line. When we have changes or movements that we have not yet reconciled in our statement of changes in equity, that would pull through in this row, and we will need to reconcile the relevant equity item in the relevant column. So that's our statement of changes in equity. Then we have our cash flow, which we touched on briefly when I was explaining to you how all the information in our file comes together in our cash flow. Now, you'll see currently it is the indirect method, starting with my profit for the year. And then what happens in the instance where we actually have rounding corrections that we need to account for? So let's say this amount was supposed to be adjusted by R1. It's just a rounding correction. How do I bring that in? You simply use these yellow cells and you type in the amount in that cell, and it's going to change the figure that we have here with the figure that we put in. So if I remove, you'll see it's going to update this figure. If I add in, it's going to update it with whatever I have put in. We know the cash flow is a beast. I know it used to be my arch nemesis when I used to draft financials. And now with this functionality, it's very easy for me to allocate my rounding without having to worry about the other places and what's going to happen with my cash flow. You also see here in the instance where we have maybe non-cash items that we need to account for, we do have line items with the dark blue cells allowing us to input that information. So in the instance where you do have those items, you can easily put them into your cash flow and reconcile your cash flow. Then you'll see at the bottom of the sheet, we do have a difference row. If our cash flow was out of balance, we would have had figures here and we would have had to reconcile our cash flow. Then we have our accounting policies, which we touched on briefly. But one thing I'm going to mention again is that we see whatever is relevant to our client. So if we have inventories in this particular client, our accounting policy inventories is going to be pre-populated for us. Again, these are editable. You'll see you can type in and change what you want, but they have been pre-populated for your convenience. Another thing is that the numbering in these accounting policies and in the notes is automated. So you'll see the moment if I open up a tax accounting policy, it's going to update to be 2.4 and revenue becomes 2.5. If I close that tax, it's going to automatically update to become revenue 2.4 as well. Now, same concept with our notes. We see what is relevant to us. Now, one thing I just want to bring to our attention, we see we have our PPE note here. And we see we have these dark blue cells. And I did mention that dark blue cells are input cells, right? But you'll see that these input cells have got formulas in them. Now, why do they have formulas? This is to say that if I have imported my trial balance for my comparative years, the information is going to populate for me, making my life easier. But sometimes we know clients, sometimes they might not have last year's TB or the TB for 2 years ago. And in that instance, you don't have the information, so you can manually add it in. So in the instance where maybe they hadn't given us the information, we can actually go in and type what we need. We can remove this formula, type in what the figure is, and then that would then go through as required. And then you'll see again, we did mention, we see what is relevant to us. You see PPE. And then I also have, for example, I don't have, if I scroll a little bit up, investment property is switched off because it's not relevant. Now we have our inventories here populating because we have inventories. Christo, I do know that there was something about securities and I don't know. What's happening?
So what we heard there, I think Sally Sauder mentioned it in one of our early meetings, is they took out a loan that had essentially the inventory secured against it, you know. So if they don't pay that loan, they're going to end up, well, taking away the inventory. Now, I am pretty certain that we need to disclose this, but I'm not seeing it in Draftworx. Like, I thought it has all of the disclosures that's required.
It does have all the disclosures that are required. And all we simply need to do is open up the grouping for security here, because it's relevant to us. Not everyone has got their inventory pledged as security. So if you do, all you simply need to do is open up the grouping, and you'll see here you can actually then specify how much and which inventory type was pledged as security. So in our case, we do know that it is other inventory. What is the amounts that have been pledged? Are you aware?
Okay, cool. That's fantastic. So we do need to use our professional judgment to make sure that we're actually applying everything. That makes sense, obviously. So on our side, I think the inventory, it was just 50,000 in the current year, and last year was 75. So, okay, so it's as easy as just typing that amount in. That's really easy. It keeps it so simple.
Pretty cool. And now we have our carrying amount of inventory pledged as security. It has been pre-populated for us. Now, what happens in the instance where the client asks us to do a custom note that is not already pre-populated for us? Because there's a lot of notes that are already pre-populated for us, inventory, cash and cash equivalents, etc. We do have these additional notes at the bottom of the sheet, which we can open up and create our custom notes. However, this is being covered in our advanced session being held on the 29th of January. So please do join if you are interested to know how do you create a custom note where that will be covered. So that's our notes sheet, right? You'll see we have notes 1, notes 2, notes 3. Normally, on the first notes sheet, we have got our assets. We also have on our notes 2 sheet some of our equity and our liabilities. Then on the notes 3 sheet, we have our income statement items. You see all the information is pre-populated for us. The spacing out on the different sheets is just so that we have a nice grouping, because here we know exactly what we're looking at. Here we know we're looking at our equity and liabilities, and then here we know we're looking at income statement items. Then we have our detailed income statement. Now, again, this is pre-populating from our TB, and you'll see that some of the information that we have here is pulling through. For example, we know that Mr. Baguette wanted this to say dojo expenses, and we updated it on our disclosure description. So here it is pulling through. If I also go to my notes 3 sheet, or if I go to my other expenses note, if I click in this, it's going to navigate. And if I scroll, you'll see I have my dojo expenses. This is what we mean when you say that that link description that we update is going to be applied across the financials wherever this particular item is being mentioned or disclosed. So that's us in a nutshell. Then we have our tax calculation. Now, Christo, if I scroll to the bottom,
tax calc, Taff, there are a couple of things we need to check here, and I think we do have a bit of time to go through it today. So let's cover it. And starting off, we just need to make sure there are some errors on our system, right? So you can see there's differences there. So we need to fix that because they definitely paid tax last year, and they're obviously going to pay tax this year, but we do need to make sure that, that they're actually paying the right amount, right? Otherwise they get properly angry.
Yes.
So just, starting off, do you want to go to the very top of the sheet? There's a few settings there that I know always affects our tax rates and all those kind of things. So what we're looking for is the small and micro business tax. They are allowed to apply that. Can you just check where that one is and activate it for us?
So I can see there's a little drop down. If I say yes, because this is asking me, does this entity qualify? So if I say yes, I can see there's a little pop-up here where I can select the applicable rates for each year. Which ones do they
I think
qualify
both
for?
years will be small business, so we don't have you can set yes for both.
Perfect. There we go. And I see we have this little calc button. If I click it, it's going to jump right to the bottom where it actually calculates the SBC rates for me. And it tells me the basis on which it is calculating it. Wow, this is so cool because I'm not really a tax expert. So I don't really understand the complexities of tax. So this is quite useful for me.
Very, very nice.
So
all right. And then do we still have those differences on our side though?
So I do see that in my prior year, I do have the difference, but in my current year, it has disappeared. So do we have reconciling items? Look.
We do have a reconciling item, and I think that will apply to this year, Taff. And I know there was a big allowable expense on their side that we can add in that wasn't used. They made a big donation to the Doe City and all of the improvements, and we can just add that donation to essentially deduct the profit, and they made it was 50,000. So I'm pretty sure they're making a loss this year, but last year would still be tax.
Okay, so they had that donations in the prior year, right?
The donation would have been in the current year.
Okay. And then is it a positive or a negative? You are the one who knows more about this than I do.
So we're just going to type in a negative there. So we don't have to worry. It's going to deduct then from our profit.
Perfect.
And then I think this year would be sorted because that would, if I look at our little bottom of the screen, we had a 38,000 profit this year. And I believe that that 50,000 will obviously take it up. So, we can probably just go with that. And then we just need to sort out the prior year for a tax journal there.
Okay. So the prior year, we're going to raise a tax journal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to navigate quickly to my journal entries because this is the screen where we raise our journal. I'm going to select my adjustment type, which is normal adjusting. And then I'm going to put in a description here, entry to raise tax. I'll just copy and paste this. Click enter. Now I can post my debits and my credits on the right again. So I can actually click on the drop down, select the tax account. This is the tax expense. Do you know what amount we are raising? It will be through the 3,000. How much are we raising?
Well, I'm pretty sure the calculation that Draftworx did there for us, that should be okay. You can go and take a look.
So I'm just going to see that is
3425. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I think Draftworx has the calculation spot on there.
Okay, so that will be, I'm hoping it is a negative, and then I will post my credit. I need to create a tax liability account. So we're doing this exercise the second time, the same way we did it the first time with our depreciation. We are doing it again with our tax. We are creating the account that we need. And then there's my tax link. I click enter. I select my account, click select 3425, click enter. I no longer have a triangle, I have a green tick. I'm happy. I can come back to my financial.
One thing we do need to check there, we did that
Yes.
journal for this year. So do we have to redo that whole journal now in the other year? Because it's last year that we should have raised this, but now we raised it for this year. Are we able to move that journal?
We can move this journal. So if I go and I select that journal, I can actually move the journal to my prior tax year. But we do have, let's just see what is happening here. Let's see if I say copy. Let's just go to our working trial balance and see what is happening. And then if we come back to our journal screen, if we try to move our journal again, which is the second journal, move to the prior tax year. It's glitching. I also think that the system has had too much sourdough, hey? So what I'll just simply
that one's interesting. We'll take a look at it in the advanced. If you do ever get an error like this, there's a couple of things we can try and sort out on our side. For now, let's copy that journal over manually.
Actually, then we can select our tax, which is there, minus 3425. And then we can select our credit. And then that is our tax liability, tax liability. Then we have our little arrow. We find the link number. And there we go. Select, click enter. And then I can select this, select 3425, click enter, and I am happy. I'm just going to save this quickly. And then when I go to my financials, I can see that I have the refresh button here. Why am I seeing this stop?
So what Draftworx does, every time there's a change on the working trial balance, which, well, a journal change affects the working TB as well, then Draftworx pops up that little tab just to show you, okay, there are some new figures and things have changed on the working trial balance. And you just need to refresh the financials to bring those changes through. And we'll see what we can show off on Thursday. I need to have a chat with our development team, but there's some very, very exciting changes happening there soon. And maybe I can show something really, really cool off on Thursday.
So I need to come and switch off the journal that I raised in the current year, which is not recorded. And then for this journal, I actually need to have it the other way around. So I will have minus and then I will have a plus to make sure that my numbers actually match.
I always do that. Man, credits and debits, guys. Credits and debits. Telling you. It should be easy, but...
It should be easy. And now I think our
So I must then
differences should disappear.
go
So
to, sorry.
third time is a charm.
We just need to remove that journal for the current year, I believe. Then it should look good.
Yes, but I did switch it off. So,
I'd give it a delete.
okay, let's do that. Let's select it, delete. We can delete the selected entry. Okay. And then if we navigate back, we click our refresh button, it's going to load. Whilst it's loading, if you don't want the refresh button to keep coming up when you make changes, you can turn on the auto refresh on the right here. You'll see that we have a button. If you turn it on, it means that every time you make a change outside of the financials and you need to refresh, you won't be prompted with the button. It will automatically do that for you. You really do have the leeway to actually say, do I want to prompt an update every single time, or do I want it to automatically happen? So now if we scroll, you know what? Tax will be our arch nemesis. I think that we should take this tax calculation to the tax practitioner. They will know best what to do because I'm not a tax expert. And they will know what to do.
No problem at all. We'll get it sorted. We'll have a look at it in the advanced and go through that whole calculation in depth just to make sure that, well, our tax is done correctly, right? We can't be paying SARS more than we should. I'm pretty sure we'll get fired on the spot.
Yeah, and I know Mr. Warren Baguette really wants to get that draft ASAP, so I think we can go ahead and then send it to him and just let him know that we will still finalize the tax calculation.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, perfect. Now we've gotten to the end of our sheet. I just want to talk about some of the buttons that we have and what they do for us. Now you'll see we did cover the content tab. We know how to move our sheets now. We know how to switch on our sheets. We also have the rounding tab, which allows us to apply the rounding. So remember in our client setup, we had the currency rounding setting where we could select whether we want to round thousands, and we selected decimal. So that means that the figures in our TV that had cents would be rounded to the nearest rand in our financials, and that rounding needs to be applied somewhere. And these are the buttons that you use to apply that rounding somewhere. Now, in this instance, you'll see we can apply to payables, receivables, or bank charges. If you want to apply it anywhere else outside of these options, you can always process a rounding journal. We can touch on that in our advanced session. Then you'll see we have our template tools button. A lot of the functionality in here will be covered in our advanced session. Then we also have the review button here that allows us to mark off this document as prepared, reviewed, or partner reviewed. The adding of the notes will be covered in our advanced. Then under developer here, we just have some buttons that allow us to freeze panes, allow us to show hidden rows and columns. And some of the other buttons here will be covered in our advanced session. You also see we have buttons here that allow us to customize the sheet height and rows for each column or each row that you have, but we will definitely go in depth in that advanced session when it comes to that. On the right, you'll also see that we have shortcuts here. This allows us to open up the hyperlinks, which will be covered in advanced, and that drill down function that we had when we right click a cell and drill down. You also have that button here. So if you don't want to right click and select drill down, you can always click the button here. It opens up the drill down and you can view that drill down and export it if you need to. Here on the right, you can mark off this document as prepared, reviewed, etc. And you can add notes. We also have tick marks here that allow us to specify an item, whether it's been agreed, etc. Then we have our format button. Now, you would have seen our template looks and feels like Excel. So a lot of the buttons here under the format are your normal Excel functions. For example, your font settings, how to make something bold, italics, or underlined, cell borders, for example, even the font color and highlight colors. You'll also see that we have alignment settings here. You can justify text, you can align left. You can also, we have got formatting here, whether you want general or number or data, etc. We also have functionality to insert rows and to insert sheets or a bullet or a symbol. Then you'll see here we have a button, the save button. Now the save button, when it's grayed out like this, it means that all the changes that we've made in the financials are saved. They're up to date. If the save button has got a purple, so if I go here to my notes sheet, and let's say I just, for example, type in here 1, you'll see that the save button is going to become purple. That means we need to save that one change that we've made by clicking the save button. We also have undo and redo buttons here as well. Now, we have a preview button, and then we have a preview sheet button. The preview sheet allows us to preview the actual sheet that we have open. But when we want to run a full preview, we are going to click the preview button. So I'm going to click here. The system is going to load because now it's reading everything in the document. It's populating my index page with the correct page numbers. I'm just going to close my preview, and then I want to go to content. Okay. Let's click the refresh button.
You've popped open one of the leads there, Taff.
Yes, I think I should close that lead, run my preview, and then I should have my set. Now you see my status sheet is currently printing. If I don't want my status sheet to print, I need to go to my financials content, because remember we spoke about how to switch off our sheets. Switch it off, close my preview, open it again, and then that status sheet is going to be switched off. So if you see something that you don't want to be part of your financials, whether it's a particular page or a sheet, you can always navigate back to your financials, open it up, and then see what you have. Now we have our PDF. These are all the bookmarks as per the PDF. This is my PDF set. These are my preview settings on the right here. So on the right, you'll see we can enable a watermark. So I know we are sending a draft to Mr. Baguette, so I can just switch that on. And then that means that draft watermark is going to be added in. Now the apply button is going to load, and we'll see that draft watermark. On the side here, there we go. We can even customize what text we wanted to have, text size and font, etc. We also have margin settings here, page border settings, and any other miscellaneous settings. In the event that someone sends us a PDF, a good example of that would be the auditors, and they want us to replace a particular sheet with an audit report or PDF report, we do that here under sheets, where we can attach PDF sheets, PDF files to sheets.
We haven't received that audit report just yet. I did touch base with the auditors again, but they seem to be taking their time. So I think we'll just touch base on that again when in the advanced, and we can show everyone how we can do that nice finalization on our side.
Perfect. So we'll cover this in our advanced. Then we have our cover page. Now here on the cover page, just to confirm, Christo, Mr. Baguette did say that he has a logo that he wants us to bring in, right?
Yeah, he has a logo. He's put that on. He sent us through a request on the client portal. You're welcome to go take a look and just check.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. He sent through that request earlier today.
Oh, there it is. So I can actually click on this. I'm going to download it. And then I can actually, it's going to be in my downloads folder. I can actually click here to drag or drop or click, or I can, let me go to my downloads. There we go. And I can add in that image. Now, once we've added in that image, we can also customize further our cover page settings. And then we click apply, and whatever changes that we've added in, like our cover image, that will then pull through on our set. Now you'll see it's on the whole page. I can actually customize to say, I don't want it to be full screen. Maybe we want it to be middle center. Is that what he wants, Christo? Did he mention?
He didn't mention, but I mean, let's play around and see what looks nice. I think middle center should work.
Perfect. So let's do middle center and see what that looks like. And then you'll see it's going to load for a few seconds. There we go. We are happy with it. It's in the right position. And then we are good to go. Then we have our letterhead. I do know on our report of the compiler, we need to add in that letterhead. So here it already is. It's been added in for us. How to add it in will be discussed in the advanced session. And now I can actually specify on which sheet should that letterhead be applied? I know it's the report compilation, so I'll tick that, click the apply button, and that is going to pull through in the PDF. There we go. There's our lovely, beautiful letterhead. And then I am happy and good to go with that. Then we have our header and footer settings. Here we get to customize formatting. And we even have page number settings. So do we want our page number to be in the footer, what position, etc. We also have date printed settings. If we want that to pull through, we can turn that on. If we want footer lines, we can customize the settings here. We can also add in custom footers. So let's say we want a custom footer on our report compilation. All we need to do is type in the wording for the custom footer, and then that would then pull through. So I'm going to put in we are the bestest compilers, because we really are. And then that is going to pull through on our brief. So I'm going to apply that. We really are the bestest. I've checked around and we are
Totally the bestest.
And there we go. I can actually, if I go and I say my custom footer is on the bottom, yeah, I can actually then customize, for example, my footer. Why is it cut off, Christo? How do I fix that?
That would be, you can just change the position. That's probably going to be the easiest. So you'll see under custom footer, the position says bottom center. So if you put it up, let's say top left, and then it's actually going to just move it around. And that footer is cut off because there's been some edits done to the letterhead. So I went and I played around with the letterhead and I moved it around a little bit, or the footer on the sheet where the letterhead's applied. And that's why it's been moved around. And I'll cover that again just in the advanced on when we go over the letterhead customization and so on.
Perfect. Great. Now I can see we can see it, because we really want Mr. Baguette to know that we are the best. Then I can move on to our notes. So here we've got our continued headers. If I navigate to my notes, whenever we have a note that is running over multiple pages, we have these continued headers that are enabled, and we can customize what they look like. We also have note number settings here. Now, you can change your note number position. So currently saying prepend, that means it's not going to be in a margin. But if you wanted it to be in a margin, you can change that information here to say inside a margin, and it would then be in the margin. We can also select which pages must have text here headers. So if we didn't want page, for example, 16 to have these text here headers, we can easily switch them off by saying page 16 should not have text here headers. And if we apply, we'll see that page 16 will not have those headers. Now, if I navigate to my notes quickly, the text here headers have been removed on page 16, but on my other note pages, they exist and they are there. Now, here we have settings that say, where do we want to break our notes and our counting policies? And you'll see that we have sometimes we have random blank spaces. We always want to make sure that this is set to paragraphs, because it ensures that we're not going to have random blank spaces in our notes, because it means a page break is going to be applied where a paragraph moves over from one page to the other. As you can see now, our trade and other payables, there was a space here, but now we've actually removed that blank space and our notes are flowing nicely.
Taf, just a question, because I know, again, for that odd entity that they have, they only read one page at a time, and I don't know why, but can we split the notes up so literally they only have one note per page?
Yes, we can actually do that. If we specify here to say each note must be on a new page, that is going to populate and show each note on a new page. Okay. So we really have the creative leeway. Very easy.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. We're going to leave this one as is, but we know for that specific cultish entity, we'll make those sourdoughs happy.
Yes. Now that we have this draft set, I actually want to send it through to Mr. Baguette. So instead of downloading this PDF and sending it over via email, we actually now have the functionality to send this PDF to Client Portal. So if I click this little arrow, I can actually send to Client Portal. And it's going to open up a screen for me. And then I can actually either create a request or just send the document. This will be covered in depth in the advanced session. I'll just simply send. He'll know what to do because he's been expecting this draft. And then if we want to save this PDF set as a PDF, we simply click the save button and it's going to download that PDF set to my PC. If I want to print directly to my printer, I can also do that by clicking the print icon there as well. Now, I do know that we did mention that we have XBRL functionality in Draftworx, and we did mention that the session on XBRL is on the 5th of Feb. So if you want to know in depth how to do your XBRL submissions, please do join us on the 5th of Feb. But we do know when we're doing XBRL that there is a compliance checklist that a client needs to complete. Now, I actually want to send this over to Mr. Baguette as well, so that whilst he's looking at the financials, he can just complete that and send it to us. So I can actually go to File Manager, and I can go to my XBRL document, and I can actually click this button. Instead of downloading this checklist and then sending it over to him via email, I can click this little button, and then I can actually create a request, and I can say, please complete checklist, and I can say, let's say here, XBRL, and then I can actually copy this and say, hi, Mr. Baguette. Please complete XBRL checklist. And then I can actually assign it to him. There's Mr. Warren Baguette. I can even specify a due date. So if I want him to actually complete this document by the end of this week, I can actually put it here, say save, and then that sends it over to the client portal, and he will actually get our word that, there's some documentation that he needs to complete for us. But remember, we are going to go in depth on how the client portal works in our advanced session. So please do join us for that session if you are interested in how that works. Now that I've sent that over, I've saved my PDF set of financials. I now know how to do a set of financials. So what is the next step? Because we've completed 2026. We are happy with it. We've sent the draft. I can close my preview.
That is very, very well done, Tiff. I think what we're going to do, I'll give this a review and make sure everything is polished. But in the meantime, I'm happy if you want to roll this file forward. We can get an early start on our management accounts. So maybe just roll the file forward and then we can go from there.
Perfect. So if we want to roll forward, we'll go to our client setup menu here on the top left, and then there is a roll forward button. Now, if I click this button, it's going to open up a screen for me, allowing me to start my roll forward. I have to specify, is this a year-end close or balance sheet roll forward? You'll see the default is year-end close because that's normally what you're going to use. You'd only really use a balance sheet roll forward if you are doing processing movements for the year. In our case, we know we're getting a full TB from the client for 2027. So I'm doing a year-end close. And then I would select the framework. Nothing has changed. They still comply with IFRS SMEs. So that's what I will select. And then working papers, we're still using the compilation working papers. So I'm going to leave that as is. And I want to roll forward into next year. Then I click the next button. I get to select on the screen now. Do I want to copy current financials or to copy new financials? So ideally, I want to copy current because there's maybe changes that I made to my accounting policies that I don't want to do again and again. So any customizations that you make to your financials, whether it's a custom note, whether it is updating the accounting policies to suit your particular client, you want to copy current financials so that all that information, the hard work that we've done, pulls through into the 2027 file. So I'll just say next. And then here is simply saying when there is a disclosure update that hasn't been applied, do we want to apply it? So our file is up to date. All the disclosure updates have been selected. So we are good to go. If you see anything here that you're not familiar with, you don't know what to do, you must not worry. We do have a dedicated remote support channel that's available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to assist you with any questions that you have about the system. So I'll show you at the end of our session how you can contact. Then I say next. And then you'll see we can select if there are any working papers that we want to roll forward. We can select them. Then we say finish. It's going to tell me now this year-end close because I'm creating a new client file now. And remember on Cloud, You pay per client file per year that you create. So it's telling me that for me to do this roll forward, it's going to cost me 310 Rand plus 155, which is 465. This is my current balance, so this is going to be deducted. I'm happy with that. I'm going to click OK. The system is going to load, and voila, my 2026 file is going to be created. And like Christo mentioned at the beginning, all that information and work I did in my client setup, so you'll see this is our 2027 file. If I open up my client setup, all that hard work I put in, my blood, sweat, and tears to complete this information is still in there. I would only need to update the information in my client setup if maybe there's something that has changed. But if nothing has changed, I'm good to go. I can go about opening my working trial balance. You'll see that I've got all my information in here. All I need to do is import my 2027, but I still have my 2026 figures pulling through from my prior year file. So that's how we get to do
fantastic.
a roll forward.
So we wouldn't even need to go and redo any of the linking or any of the client setup once we've rolled forward. Everything is sorted.
Everything is sorted. How nice. Gives me more time to have some sourdough toast.
Yes, we're going to grab some toast now. We're almost there.
Almost there. So now that I'm happy with this, how do I get help? And how do we get help in the instance where we need some help? So you'll see at the top right, we did open it at the beginning of our session. We have a little help button. We open up, you'll see the first option that we have here is the knowledge base. Now, what is the knowledge base? This is where we have frequently asked questions and step-by-step guides on how to do specific frequently asked items. So because we are cloud users, we will select cloud, and you'll see it's going to open up particular topics. You can scroll and find what you're looking for. You can even search for what you're looking for. So I can search to say importing, and it can say importing a trial balance. So maybe I remember how to do it because it was discussed in the webinar, but I just need a little refresher. I'm going to open it. It's going to ask me, which method do you want to get information on? I'll say Excel spreadsheet. You see there's a little section. You say get started. It even tells you how many seconds it will take. Refer to your working trial balance. And there's even little screenshots with circles telling you exactly what you need to have open and where you need to click. So you can follow the step-by-step guide to complete the task that you would like to complete. If we navigate back, you'll see we have the second option is our remote support. Now the remote support is that channel where you can speak to a consultant. Now, if we click it here, it's going to start downloading a version of TeamViewer that's going to allow me to connect with a support consultant. So in this case, once it's finished downloading, it will be TeamViewer QS in my downloads folder. You don't have to download it every single time. If you've downloaded it once, that's enough. So you can just always go to your downloads folder if you need to contact us, and then open that TeamViewer QS. When you open that TeamViewer QS, it's then going to take you to a little screen where there is a session code that pre-populates. It's just loading on my side. I will show you the moment it pops up on my screen. And then you just have to put in your name so that we know who we are assisting and talking to. It's just loading on my side. We'll give it a few seconds and just a little bit of information about our remote support channel, which is awesome. They are awesome. They are real people. So you might see that the response is quick. It's not a bot. The real person who's very eager to help and assist. So here I can just put in their name. So I'm actually going to masquerade as somebody else. So I'm actually going to say that I am Warren. And then I'm going to click this little icon and it's going to open up a little chat, allowing me to specify what I need help with. So I can say, hi there, need help with importing PB. And I can send that. And then somebody will then respond through and help me. You'll see currently it's saying the message has been sent. When it's been read, you'll see this is the quickest way to get help. Somebody is going to join us online. You have to accept their request. When they do send through the request, they'll have access to your PC and they will be able to assist you. Essentially, that's how you can get help. I'm just going to close this chat quickly and close this and then navigate back here. We spoke about knowledge base, remote support, then we have the contact support button. This allows you to send through a file to us. So if you need to send through a file, you need something changed, you can just simply send us a message, say, hi. You can just say, hi, please merge, for example, accounting policies with notes. And then that will come through to us. And then once that comes through to us, we're able to then communicate with you. And remember, we did mention that number on your practice details is important. Why? That's what's populating here. That's because if we need to phone you to maybe get additional information or to tell you that we've resolved it, we can contact you on the correct contact number. And that's Draftworx in a nutshell. That's how we get a set of financials in a nutshell. I think, Christo, as my partner, are you happy? Are we happy with what we've sent through to Mr. Warren?
Yeah, Mr. Baguette will surely be happy with what he has. Like I said, I'm sure he's going to come back with a little bit of feedback, and we can go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much our whole session today. And I would just like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you so much. Please use the support if you do need any assistance. Please, you guys are welcome to contact us. I've added a little just a little slide that's got details in with information. If you want to contact us, any questions that wasn't answered or anything like that, we'll get back to you. And then, join us on Thursday. We're very excited to show you the advanced session. We're going to show you a couple of very nice new features that are coming soon. And that's going to be quite exciting. I'm going to push the devs. Hopefully we can show some of the very nice features. But developers are scared of showing new things. So I'll have to convince them. I'll go and bribe them with some sourdough and see what we can get. But thanks everyone for joining us. And have a fantastic, evening further. And also thanks, Clarissa, for answering everyone. A reminder for everyone that joined, we will be sending out your certificates. We will also be putting these videos on YouTube. So we're going to just make sure everything's nice, and then we'll post them up on YouTube. And we can go from there. If anyone needs anything, please use these contact details and get a hold of us. But have a fantastic day further. And Taff, thanks so much for taking us through that process. You were brilliant. And we'll definitely continue on Thursday. I'm excited to get these financials through for Mr. Baguette. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.